So hello students, I am Dr. Manisha Sharma and in this video we are going to discuss the topic Introduction to Research. So first of all, we would like to know the meaning of research. So what is research? It is an organized and systematic study of material and sources in order to discover new things and established facts, so to reach new conclusion. So we start with that research is a study which is done in a systematic manner. So it is called as systematic study, right? So what is the meaning of systematic study? Means there are certain parameters, or there are certain steps which we need to follow, right? So that is why it is known as systematic study. We'll talk about what are those steps or the stages. We'll talk about it later on. So right now we can say that it is the study, and once we are doing that study, we discover new things out of that study, right? And when we are discovering something, it establishes some kind of facts, or we can say it establishes some kind of theory for us. Comes out with some kind of theory, or some kind of perception, or some kind of philosophy, or some kind of facts. And once we talk about some facts, we reach to some kind of conclusions also. So this is what the basic philosophy or the basic meaning of research tells us, that it is a study. So it is a study which leads to the discovery of some facts, right? And out of that we conclude something. Out of those facts we conclude something. So this is one of the basic understanding of the term research. Next we move on to the next definition or the meaning, wherein we try to understand this concept also. It says that research is defined as the creation of new knowledge, or the use of the existing knowledge in a new and creative way, so as to generate newer concepts, methodologies and understandings. What is the meaning of creation of new knowledge or the use of existing knowledge? So we can say that research is what? You're actually creating, you're coming up with new idea, you're coming up with new knowledge, right? Maybe you have done such research wherein you are coming up with some kind of new idea, or the use of existing knowledge. So what is the meaning? Like for example, when we are talking about the creation of new knowledge, we say that we may collect the data from we can collect the first hand data. What is first hand data? Which is collected by ourselves, which we are collecting, that is known as the first hand data. We call it as primary data, right? We call it as primary data. Next one is, we are not talking about the first hand data, but rather we are using the existing data. So what is the existing data? Existing data is known as the secondary data. Secondary data is what? It means that whatever research has already been done, whatever information we have already is already there in the maybe in the form of some newspapers, maybe in the form of some books, maybe the information is retained by any of the some research work which has already been done by the researchers. So that is the existing knowledge, and when we are making use of that, so that is also one of the kind of research which we are doing. So that is known as secondary research, right? So that is the secondary research, when we are actually use of the data, or making use of that knowledge which is already existing. We are not collecting the new knowledge, that is the existing knowledge we are making use of, right? So when we are making an analysis of that existing knowledge, also that is known to be research. And when we are creating some kind of new knowledge, that is also research. What is the creation? How you are going to create the new research? When, as I have already talked about, when in the form of collecting the primary data, which is the first hand data from the respondents. So we'll talk about in detail in the process later on, but for I hope it is clear to you what is primary data and what is secondary data. In a new, and what we are doing, we we are actually collecting that data, and we are generating some kind of new concept out of that. We are we are coming up with a newer understanding. So this is what we have talked about in the previous definition also. See that we are studying something, we are discovering out of that study, and we are what we are discovering the facts, and we are concluding some things. Similarly, we are saying that we are whatever data we are collecting, whatever information we are collecting, I'm writing it here, whatever information we are collecting, we are making use of that information, and we are coming up with some kind of newer concept, or maybe the newer theory, right? Or maybe some kind of newer understanding, right? So this is what the basic meaning of research tells us. Next we move to one more definition, which is says that research comprises of defining and redefining problem. So here we talk about the process of research, which says that when we are doing the research, we are always, there has to be some kind of issue, or has to be some kind of problem which we are talking about. So there is some kind of issue, or there is some kind of problem, so we are going to define it, and again we are again defining it, that is redefining it, right? So research comprises of taking care of the any problem or any issue. Then we formulate hypothesis. What does it mean? We are formulating some kind of, we are taking some, formulating hypothesis means we are making some assumption. We are making some assumption or assumptions, right? So that is what is hypothesis. Hypothesis means some kind of assumption, or you can also call it some kind of statement. Now this is in the simpler term. Statement may be true or it may be false, right? Now I hope it is clear. Formulating hypothesis means you are making some assumption. Then what you're doing, you're collecting the data, and then you're evaluating the data, right? So first of all, you have started with, we are defining the meaning, the term research here. You are defining any problem. Then you are formulating some kind of assumptions. You are making some assumptions. Then you are collecting the data. Then you are evaluating the data, and then you are making deductions. What is deductions here? You are making some kind of conclusions, right? You are making some kind of conclusions, and you are testing those conclusions with what? You have made a study, you have derived some conclusion. Now how to, with whom you are going to compare those conclusions with? You are going to compare your conclusion, or your, what is conclusion? Conclusion means your result, whatever result you have come out with. You are going to study those results with the assumptions which you have made. So you can call those assumptions as standard also, right? Those are the standards for you. You have come out with your result, and you will compare your result with the standard, whether your result is true or whether your result is false. So that this is you are going to do in your research. So this is the, actually this definition suggests us, it gives a gist of the process of research in this definition, right? We get a gist of the process. So we start with the defining of the problem, describe them, or you can say identifying the problem. Then you are formulating some kind of hypothesis for that. Then you are collecting the data. Then you are evaluating the data. Then you are making conclusion out of that. And then you are testing those conclusion, or you match those conclusion with the standards or with the hypothesis. So this is what research is known as. Next we move to the objective of research, the topic objectives of research. So what is the why? So when we talk about the objectives, it always tells us why, right? Why research is being done, or what is the purpose of doing the research work. So first of all, it tells us the unexplored to us. It explored the unexplored to us. So it tells us what is not being explored earlier, right? So for example, you want to gain some kind of familiarity with a particular aspect which you are not aware of, and for that you carry out the research, right? So this is also one of the objective of doing the research, that we do not know something and we want to know about it, and that is why we are doing research. For example, in the time of corona, we did not know, the doctors and the scientists, they did not know about initially what corona is. So after exploring the features of that particular virus, they have tried to, what they have done, they have tried to explore. So exploring the unexplored is the first objective of research and the basic objective of research. Second one is to describe the situation. So it may be done in a descriptive manner also. Research may be done in a descriptive manner also. So when you want to describe something, some individual, some incident, some event, or some pattern, or some behavioral pattern also, sometimes suppose you're talking about stocks, how they work, how they move, right? So this is also one of the pattern. So when you're defining stocks, whether you're working in a bearish market or a bullish market, for example, so what you're doing, you're describing it. So that is also, you're studying about a pattern. So when we want to describe something, that is also objective of research, right?